Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 2023 City of Airdrie Real Estate Review. My name's Sarah Chamberlain. I am the lead of the city's economic development team. Our team is very pleased to host this event today, and we want to thank you for taking the time to join us this morning in Airdrie's beautiful Bert Church Live Theatre and online. This is our third real estate review event, and we're very excited because it just keeps getting bigger and better. We have about 150 registered today. So in the room, there's about 50 of you, and then we have many more who are joining us online. Just some fun facts about our participants. Almost a third come to us from Calgary. There are many Adronians. I see you in the room, and I know there's some watching online. And we also have participants from 4 provinces, spanning from British Columbia to Ontario. And we even have someone who's joined us from the USA today. So we're very excited about the turnout. So in your company today are representatives from real estate firms, from asset management companies, developers, members of the finance industry, and many others. So again, thank you very much for taking the time out of your very busy schedules and being with the City of Airdrie today. We are excited to share with you all the great things happening in this great city and to show you how our growth in Airdrie can help drive your growth as a business. I am confident and hopeful that you will learn something new this morning and that maybe you'll even walk away with a new idea about how you can invest in our city. The official program is going to get underway very soon, but before I move into the details, I want to acknowledge that we are meeting today on the ancestral lands of Treaty 7 nations, home of the Blackfoot Confederacy, Siksika, the Kainai, Piikani nations, the Tsuut'ina Nation, Stoney Nakoda nations of Goodstoney, Chiniki, and Bearspaw. This is also home to Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3. So we have a jam-packed agenda today with lots of fantastic speakers from the City of Airdrie and one special guest who have packed their presentations with information to share for you. For the people who are in attendance, please do help yourself at any time to the refreshments that you can see at the front and coffee at the back. The washrooms are to the right through those doors. And in the case of an event of an emergency or we will need to leave the building, you can see the exit doors over here. And the muster point is between Bert Church Theatre and Genesis Place in the middle of the parking lot. So for our online guests, if you're having technical difficulties, please write them in the chat. And Krista and Chelsea are there and able to assist you, hopefully able to assist you. I need to let everybody know that today's event is being recorded, and we are going to share that recording with you via email after, so you're welcome to watch it anytime and share it with your friends. If you're posting on your social media today about our event, first, thank you, and we'd love you to do that. Please tag Airdrie Economic Development on LinkedIn and Facebook, and on Instagram you can find us as Airdrie EcDev. So, how this is going to work today. We have 12 speakers that are ready to share information with you about Airdrie's real estate environment. They're going to be speedy. We've only given them 10 minutes each, so it's going to be a little bit of a lightning round. We're sure you're going to come up with a lot of great questions, but because our agenda is so packed, we're just going to ask you to hold those to the end. We have planned for a Q&A right near the end. For the in-person attendees, there are notepads and pens on the tables, or we can help you find one if you need one. Encourage you to jot down your questions. For our online participants, feel free to put your question in the chat at any time. We will be gathering that, and it will be shared with me during the Q&A. If there's anything that we can't answer during the event, we will absolutely follow up with you afterwards. And if we happen to run out of time and have less time than we hope for the Q&A, we will also follow up with you directly after the event to answer your question. If you want to move to the agenda slide, we're going to start with 7 speakers. Then we're going to have a 15-minute break, so that should be around 10:30 if we're staying on schedule. Our Q&A should be about 20 to 12, and then we're committed to wrapping up at noon today. It's very important for our guests that we get you out of here on time, and we're going to do our best to do that. Okay, so that's enough of the housekeeping. We will just jump right into our agenda. To get things started, it is my pleasure to introduce our mayor, Peter Brown. Mayor Brown was first elected in 2010 and is now serving his 4th consecutive term. I can personally attest to how hard Mayor Brown has worked over the 13 years with this city. and for the duration of the time that we have worked together. I want to say that he is a tireless advocate for our city. It is a pleasure to work with a mayor who is so supportive of our business community and who also has such a deep love for his community. I have one more little sentence that I'm going to skip because he's going to hip check me soon. But please welcome Mayor Brown, who's going to speak to you not only in a welcome format, but to talk about his strategic vision and the advocacy the City of Airdrie is undertaking.
Excellent. Thank you, Sarah. Good morning, everyone. How are you? I'm thrilled to be here. What a great audience. And to those of you online, thanks for participating. I'm going to start by thanking you all, because somewhere down the line you've made a decision to invest in our community. And that goes a long way. It makes us better, stronger, bigger, faster. We're the place to land. We've never had a business tax, and while I'm the mayor, we never will have a business tax. We have a lot of great things going for us. As you saw, we have a bit of congestion turning into this high school this morning. School's back, but we have a great community. And anybody who's from here, I saw the thumb went up when Airdrie citizens, when Sarah, you mentioned who's here. So I would say there's lots of friends here, for sure. And if you do business in Airdrie, you will become a friend. So those of you who are outside of Alberta, maybe even from the US, we welcome your investment. This is the place to be in Alberta. It's the place to be in Canada. I was going to talk a little bit about advocacy. I think everybody's probably heard me many times before if you've heard me speak. We have done a ton in the last little while, in particular around 40th Avenue. The city, if you didn't know, pitched in over $50 million to build that bridge. It was an enormous expense that we really honestly couldn't afford in a high-growth community, but we made it because safety was paramount, and getting our business traffic in and out of our community safely was more important than not making that investment. So that bridge, October the 13th, we're hosting our ribbon cutting, and the bridge will be open on the 14th, the morning after, if everything goes well, which I suspect it will, talking to our engineering team. So just a lot of exciting things going on in the community, and the people, as I said, that are here, you understand it, you see it, you know it. It's an unbelievably caring community. We look out for one another. We have a place for everyone. And if you see the incredible growth that we've sustained, we're over 80,000 people now. If you didn't know that, when I was elected in 2010, we had closer to 36,000 to 37,000, depending. And this growth has not changed our identity in any way. We still look out for one another. We still care about one another. We still have great opportunities through our business community for people to work, live, and play really in Airdrie. And that's what we're hoping to continue to achieve. So on the transportation front, I just wanted to mention that 40th will be open. We have, again, a grand opening on the 13th. You're certainly welcome to come. It's open to everyone. Actually, you'll all be, probably most of you will be getting an invite for that. We have a number of other projects, but I see Andrew's here, and I'm certain that administration are going to touch on those projects through their presentations. So leisure, recreation, and culture has been one of our key focus areas. As you can see, you're in one of our leisure areas right now. This community has gone from being really very little diversity. When I moved here, there was very little diversity. Now we have people from all over the world living, working, and loving living in our community, and it's made us so much better. It's an amazing place to live. If you haven't come to Airdrie, I'd really encourage you to come down here, meet with our administrators, meet with our business owners, and find out what it's like to do business in Airdrie and to live here, start a family. That's what we're always focused on. Environmental protection is a key component. I don't know if we have our environmental expert here today. No, he's not speaking. But we've just initiated a SEEP program. It's out of Alberta municipalities. Calgary's got, Edmonton's got it, a few other mid-sized communities. It's basically using solar and having the city offer an opportunity for people to put solar panels on their homes. And if this program is a success, I think it's going to start. Rossio may touch on that, but I think we're looking at approving it in the fall. If a person buys, whatever the difference is, if they decide to sell their house, that cost now falls to the new owner of the home. It's a very interesting program, and we're hoping, if it's successful, to roll it out to commercial businesses. Our own, you'll see solar panels. We have the largest independent solar panels behind me at Genesis Place. We have exceeded expectations. We're drawing over $100,000 a year. I think estimates in the early budget years were 80, and we hope to have it paid off in full and running with all that money flowing back into the city in the next 20 years is our contribution. I think we put $1 million in, and the feds in the province picked up the rest, and also NMAX. Talked about caring community, economic development. I'm going to leave it up to them, but I really encourage you. I always get a call after things go wrong. Or I hear complaints about things within the organization. It could be, I'm not going to mention a department, but you might all know what I'm talking about. What I really would like to emphasize with this group is if you're having issues with whatever department, reach out, have a conversation. We don't have a blacklist. You won't be marginalized because you come forward. If we can do something better, we need to know about it. It doesn't help us in any way be a better organization or a better place to do business if those thoughts and ideas aren't shared with all of us. So I really encourage everyone, don't be nervous. You'll meet our city manager here. You know Sarah, you know Krista, you know all the people in economic development. Reach out, we'll have those conversations, because no matter what we do right now, we can always be a bit better. And we want to make it so much more attractive to bringing business into this community. It's our #1 focus as a council, has been for the last 10 years. We want you here. We need you here. This is an important step forward, and we really appreciate you more than you know. As far as informed and engaged, that's another focus area. I think we're doing a pretty good job, but it's interesting. You literally can put out thousands of videos and hundreds of different posts, and not everybody sees it. Oh, I didn't know about this or whatever. I think we're trying to get better at it. We're not perfect, but things are starting to connect. I think we're feeling that. We have a couple of online programs for residents. They're very well utilized. I think we're over 80% for my Airdrie. I mean, that's pretty awesome when you think about all of the community members we now have. And the last one is advocacy. And there was a lot of discussion about how can you put that as a strategic priority. But honestly, we've been overlooked. If the province is watching, hello, we've been overlooked. Happy to say it again, we've been overlooked. We're the highest, fastest growing community, the best community in Alberta. We represent you better than, I'll say respectfully to everyone else, as good as anyone in our province. And we've been overlooked for infrastructure funding, for schools, for healthcare. But I can assure you, as a business investors, that those things are a priority list for myself, my council, and everyone else in the community. So it's not just the city. I'm working with Rocky View School Division, Calgary Catholic. I'm working with doctors. I'm working with health professionals. We're working with everybody to overcome some of these obstacles. We're aligning ourselves with other mid-sized communities because they're getting overlooked as well. We used to get MSI funding here when I first started in 2010. I think it was $370 per household. So the census was very important to us. Since that time, it's now about $170. And it's actually going lower for mid-sized rapid growth communities. People who manage their money better get less money. It doesn't make any sense. And then sorry, I'm talking to you guys again if you're watching from the province. But that's the scary part, is that's where the investment needs to come. We need it here. We need more schools. I could tell you some stories that would make your hair stand on end. That's why my hair is no longer here, because you're fighting a fight. But I can assure you, I will fight the fight till I have no breath left to make certain that we get what we deserve in our community. And I literally was with the Minister of Municipal Affairs yesterday, and he's aware of it, and their government's aware of it, the Premier's aware of it, and we're going to be a force to be reckoned with. This community is on the rise, and I can assure you, in my 13 years here, this is the most exciting time I've ever seen. We've approved at least 5 quarter sections for development, a mix, mostly res, but there's some commercial. We just approved Spring Valley, which is over here in the east. Again, a little bit of res, but there's also some IB2 in there as well. And we're going to be the place to land your dollars. You'll get the best return on your investment. That's what I believe. And I know if you're working with our staff, we have the best staff. I know them personally. Some of them are friends, but all of them are colleagues and trusted. And if you have issues you need to deal with, you need to reach out to people like Sarah, our city manager, Jamal, his team. We're open for those conversations because, as I said before, if we don't know the problem or any problems that exist, how can we address it? How can we fix it? So today's the day, and seize the day. But remember, your investment in our community is absolutely so appreciated, and I can assure you, over time, you'll begin to see what I always see. This is the best place to be in Alberta, whether you're in business or you want to create a life for yourself. Enjoy the rest of the conference, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. Next up is maybe a new face to some of you. It is our new Chief Administrative Officer, Horacio Galante. Mr. Galante joined us last September to take the helm leading city administration. He is a professional engineer with over 20 years of municipal government management experience. He brought to Airdrie experience across a wide variety of local government departments, including infrastructure, community safety, sustainability, to name just a few. So today, Horacio will share with you the City of Airdrie's strategic vision and the organizational goals. Welcome, Horacio.
Okay. Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for being here today. It's great to see all the local faces and also international potential investors here, so appreciate your time. Truly an honor today to be here in front of you, and it's hard to believe. It has been pretty much a year since I started here in Airdrie, so time flies. And I'm here today filled with excitement about what the few coming years have in store for us. As Mayor Brown mentioned, we have so many opportunities coming our way that we need to balance our time, our energy, our resources to put all this together to make it happen. For those of you not familiar with my background, I would like to share a little bit about what drives me, and as I bring that into my personal and professional life. Throughout my life, I have held onto a simple yet profound principle: the pursuit of purpose through passion. Now, what that means can vary greatly from person to person. But I have always believed that when you discover your true purpose, that thing that gets you excited to jump out of bed every morning, then you're onto something truly special. And I hope you all found that thing. In my personal life, my passion is, as you probably know, mountaineering. You can see something there. I have learned a lot of important lessons through my expeditions in mountains, and these lessons have taught me a great deal of inspiration, leadership, commitment, dedication, and how to achieve great results. And I bring that into my professional life as city manager. By the way, this is a picture of myself with different attire, of course, on the summit of Mount Aconcagua, 7,000 meters this January 2023, highest peak in the American continent. So by following your passion, success naturally follows. So you might wonder why I chose a career in municipal government. It was so special there. The answer for me is very simple. At this level of government, we have the unique opportunity to make a difference in the lives of our residents. We are the first point of contact, the first line of connection with the people we serve, and we can really make a difference day to day compared with provincial and federal levels. That is a face-to-face touch point. That's the reason I chose this path, is to make that difference every day. So what do I envision for our city in the next few years, and align with Mayor Brown's comments? As you know, Airdrie is on track to becoming the third largest city in the province in the next 5, 7 to 10 years. We are welcoming 3,500, 4,000 new residents every year in the city. So my vision for the city is what I call a constant evolution and continuous improvement. We need to constantly evolve, adapt, be prepared for what is coming. We have experienced this exponential growth in just a few short years, and we will continue to evolve. As a city manager, and with the support and creativity of more than 700 colleagues, we're all here to guide our organization through this maturation process, all aligned with Council's strategic plan. To do this, we have been studying other municipalities who went through this journey. So we studied a lot of municipalities, not only here in Canada, but around the world, between 100,000 to 400,000 residents. We learn from those journeys, and then we apply a local lens, the Airdrie lens, to prepare ourselves to what is lying ahead. Airdrie is no longer a small town, and our focus is on embracing this change with open arms. It is a very exciting journey, and this already started a few years ago and continues to unfold before us. Our city's greatest strengths in this evolution can be looked at in two ways. First, externally. Airdrie is strategically positioned with direct access to the Calgary-Edmonton corridor, the two largest cities in the province. We're also close to the international airport and nestled near the beautiful Rocky Mountains, offering exceptional recreational opportunities. So our geographic location is fantastic. This unique positioning makes Airdrie a thriving commercial hub and a prime trade corridor, perfectly situated to attract more businesses and residents. Internally, our greatest strength is our people. We are fortunate to have a remarkable team of individuals who work for the betterment of our residents and businesses. Their talent, expertise, and knowledge are incredible. Even during my first few weeks last year, when I started knowing the city and connecting with different staff, I was really surprised with the high caliber of individuals we have working for the city. That's a fantastic organization. I am very proud to say that we are a highly professional organization, marked by stability, a culture of collaboration, and a deep sense of community. We are a team that works together seamlessly to meet the demands of this growing city. Of course, we have also challenges, and this is the nature of the public sector. The world is evolving at an unprecedented pace, and the demands on us are growing. We are expected to provide instant solutions in a world that never stops moving, and you can see that via social media. We are a 24/7, 365 organization, so the management of information is critical. Balancing the needs of both residents and businesses against reduced funding from provincial and federal levels while ensuring tax increases remain reasonable is a significant challenge, and we are currently working through our 2024 budget these days. It is a task that I'm fully committed to leading in our organization to strike the right balance as effectively and efficiently as possible. Collaboration with our provincial and federal partners continues to be essential, particularly when responsibilities overlap. As Mayor Brown mentioned earlier, we must continue to advocate for healthcare, including mental health support, affordable housing, new recreation, and critical infrastructure, water, sewer, roads, storm lines, to prepare the city for 100,000 population and beyond. Balancing funding against these demands while championing the interest of our businesses and residents is paramount. To close, I would like to reiterate that I'm super excited about the future of Airdrie. Today, you will hear from many talented individuals within our organization who make our city an incredible place to work and live. Together, we will continue to drive the evolution of our city. So thank you so much for joining us today, and I'm sure I will be seeing you along this journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Horacio. I'm sure if you catch him at the break, you can get a few more details about the picture he showed you. So now we're going to move into city administration, providing you with updates in their subject matter areas. So first up is my manager, Jamal Ramjan, the manager of community growth, and he's going to provide some highlights from his division over the last year. Welcome, Jamal.
Thanks very much, Sarah. Welcome, everybody. This is my great honor in my second year at the Real Estate Review. What always strikes me about this event is just the broad spectrum of folks in the audience. I'm seeing developers, builders, consultants, real estate folks. It's a wonderful cross spectrum. We invite you to connect with as many people as you can over the course of the morning. And again, if you have any questions for me or any of the administration, certainly grab us in the break or shortly after the program. Like you and like my our wonderful two presenters before me, we take great pride, and we hope you see this, great pride in living, working, and investing in the city of Airdrie. Our administration, as Horacio has said, is wonderfully passionate and really dedicated towards making your goals and your objectives come true as well. We certainly want a wonderful place to live, work, and play for our residents, but again, I'll use that investment word, as the mayor has said. We really welcome your investment, and we want to strive, and we do strive, to make it as easy for you to invest and as predictive for you to invest. In fact, just last year, we had $540 million of investment in Airdrie. That is an astounding number, and certainly is proof positive for the wonderful investment that we continue to see, but we can still do more. We want a whole lot more as far as non-residential investment goes. Certainly we do residential, and our developers and builders do residential very well. But you'll see over the next 5 years, we're going to want to diversify that to the absolute extent possible in order to make sure we balance that growth over time and make sure it's sustainable over time. In order to do that, and I've had discussions with senior leadership on this as well, we want this to trickle down. We want to develop more of an economic development mindset. And I'm not just saying that because economic development is off to my right. We really do want that. And what does that mean? We want to be very purposeful and look at outcomes. As many of you know, a lot of municipalities that you invest in, and a lot of administrations that you work with, they're focused on the job that they have at hand. That might be a regulatory job, that might be an environmental check, it might be a health and safety check. But we want to develop that economic development mindset downstream so that people are focused on the outcome. What is the outcome of the job that they're doing on a daily basis? And that outcome is highly focused on what you folks are bringing to the table. You want an outcome, whether it's a built environment, a park, a regulatory approval, whatever that might be. We need to be focused on the customer first so that we see what your outcome and goals are. And that's not always easy. As Horacio said, we have 700 people in the organization. We need that information and that mindset to trickle down. And we believe over the next 5-6 years, the goals that we have and the focus areas the council has put forward, we believe that will be paramount. We're continuing, as Horacio said as well, to examine ways in which to make your investment easier. So we're continuously looking at ways in which to make your processes with the city simpler, more efficient, and less iterative back and forth in terms of reviews that we might do, whether that's planning, building, engineering, parks, environment. The population and growth trajectory that we have, I believe, from an economic development mindset as well, will soon start to pay dividends as far as opportunities and some challenges here and there. But as we traject towards 100,000 people, there's a self-sustaining scenario that will be created, as we've seen in other cities in Alberta and across the country. Those opportunities will provide for you new investment opportunities. Again, with people comes services. We need those services to come forward. I was speaking with Francis earlier about pickleball. Wow. Who thought pickleball would be such a huge sport? And it's massive in Airdrie. So again, with that population comes new opportunities and particularly new non-residential and new business opportunities for you. So with that, we're preparing our administration to manage those opportunities, in particular from last year to this year, hiring new positions that are moving forward to meet those challenges. For instance, an affordable housing coordinator, and you'll hear from her later today. A municipal energy advisor. Again, we're looking at their sustainability models and in terms of what we have for the corporation to live those ideals, but also from the residents and businesses. And lastly, or I shouldn't say lastly, looking at our downtown in a much more strategic way. Director Utes, I'm not sure if he's here in the audience, and Director Weinberger have been working tirelessly over the last year with administration, and in doing so, we were able to hire our first downtown revitalization coordinator, Adina, sitting in the front row. Talk to her about the downtown and how you might invest in what we consider to be one of the best ways to invest, because the utilities and infrastructure is already there. So we want to see you get a return on that investment with a lot of the groundwork that's already been done over the years. We want to make our planning policy stages a whole lot easier, and in doing so, we have recently split planning, what we call current planning or development planning, with policy planning, and we've hired most recently Jordan Furness, sitting on the couch now, to take a look at how we might get through that policy planning process for new lands simpler, more effective, and with less iterative review time. We do have work to do, and I was mentioning to Elaine earlier, we have freehold townhouses that we have reduced time in terms of an application process, but also with unintended consequences of needing to address certain engineering aspects like drainage. We'll get there, but we first needed to table a solution and then deal with the after effects of that. Horacio didn't touch on this, but our newly launched administrative realignment positions us really well to support the growth over the next 5 to 7 years. And again, that'll take us up over 100,000 people, and with it, the need for additional services to support that population. And lastly, but perhaps most importantly, again, that business investment will help us better balance the economy and the sustainable, what we call triangulation of that live, work, and play model. And we hope that you will continue to be those investors, as well as the folks at home that are listening in Airdrie. And I thank you very much for your time, and enjoy the program.
Thank you, Jamal. Jamal didn't mention that he's an urban planner by training. So I have to say, as a 20-year veteran in economic development, it is super satisfying to hear a planner say that we need to develop an economic development mindset. So that is my takeaway for the day. I heard you, Jamal. All right, so now I'm very pleased to welcome a pair of presenters from the city's planning team. Jamal has already started to introduce them. Gail Gibo is our team leader of current planning, and Jordan Furness is new to the city. He joined about a month ago, so we're putting him right front and center fast. And he is the policy planning team lead. So this duo is going to provide you with an overview of current projects and long-range planning. So welcome.
All right, good morning, everyone. Very excited to be here and very excited to have this opportunity to be working with the City of Airdrie. As mentioned, I've only been here a couple months, but I did move to Alberta back in 2007, and most of my time was spent with the City of Calgary on the front lines of new area structure plans. I actually learned under Jamal while we were both at the City of Calgary and the introduction of developer-funded area structure plans and some major process improvements that happened throughout that time. But I'm also very excited to get back to a city the size of Airdrie, because I cut my teeth in planning with the city of Red Deer in the early 2000s, and as they crossed the 100,000 citizen threshold, and learned tons from there. And so I'm very excited to bring the best of what I've learned working for those municipalities to Airdrie as it approaches 100,000 people. I just want to start, again, that some of the location stuff was mentioned earlier, but I do agree that Airdrie is well positioned in the Calgary region. And it really is a bit of a new era of growth planning that's starting to take shape with the Calgary Metropolitan Region Board that was required by the province of Alberta and includes 8 municipalities, as you can see there. And I think the exciting thing that really speaks to the need for advocacy for Airdrie getting a fair share is that these regional plans identify Airdrie as a preferred growth area. I apologize ahead of time in case I accidentally drop some Calgary and Red Deer references, but really trying to learn the local Airdrie lingo. So in terms of the long-range plans, I was pleasantly surprised. I think Airdrie has a very, well, relatively small pile of long-range plans compared to what I've seen across the municipalities in terms of looking for that long-term future. So the main one would be the Airdrie City Plan, which is the municipal development plan that every municipality has to adopt. And I think one of the big changes coming is that we are now needing to align with the growth plan that was approved by the province but worked on by all 8 municipalities. And all municipalities must update their municipal development plans no later than August 2025 to show alignment with this metropolitan region plan. I'm hoping that we can have Airdrie's update completed early in 2024. And so, yeah, this is just a quick zeroing in on the 2 regional plans. So there's a growth plan, there's a servicing plan. They're moving into regional transportation modeling now. So again, even though Airdrie already has transit service into downtown Calgary, there's lots of improvements that have been identified, and I think that can be coming in the future. Some people might be saying, is the province adding another development authority or another level of government a good thing? Yes, but. And I think that's, it's all about what you do with that ability. And I think by identifying Airdrie as a preferred growth area, that really gives Airdrie an advantage in terms of being able to really receive that growth and not be subject to some other growth proposals that, prior to the region board came in really kind of out of the blue in a lot of areas. And now we've got some really targeted growth areas, and Airdrie is right in the middle of that. These plans are also establishing some common region-wide metrics. So we'll see more clearly where Airdrie is or isn't getting a fair share of the infrastructure investment occurring across the province, but particularly in the regional board. In the near term, Airdrie is embarking on a joint planning effort with the City of Calgary and Rocky View County for the area that's just outlined just to the south of Airdrie. So it includes the south portions of Airdrie, north portions of Calgary, and a huge area of Rocky View County in between. So I encourage you to keep an eye out for some opportunities to get involved in that planning process. That'll really ramp up in 2024. And again, there's 3 joint planning areas throughout the region. And those plans, those context studies, so not quite the area structure plan, a little less detail than an area structure plan, but they do need to be approved. The province has required approval by August of 2025. So a month before, or a couple months before a municipal election, no issues running into that deadline. Zooming in a bit, looking at the city map, there's 2 key maps if you're looking at Airdrie's growth potential. This is the existing city plan showing the mix of employment lands in purple and red, and then the yellow areas for master plan communities. If you're looking a bit longer term, well before my time, Airdrie completed the Airdrie 12,000 acres plan. And so it's a non-statutory plan, and again, it looks at those areas, the 12,000 acres that Airdrie annexed back in the 2012, I believe, and shows, again, that mix, the place types that the regional board is looking for in terms of master plan communities, employment areas, and I think that Airdrie has really already done that legwork to align with what the requirements of the regional board are looking for in terms of getting new municipal development plans approved. In terms of recent approvals, I've got to give a ton of credit to my colleague Gail Jabot, who the first 4 plans that you see on there in terms of approvals in the last 18 months, totaling over 300 hectares of land, over 20 hectares of new employment lands, were shepherded through the process by Gail. So that's been happening, growth all around the city, and then you'll hear in a few minutes about the downtown revitalization plan, as well as the associated community revitalization levy approved by the province because they believed in the good work being done or proposed in that plan. So very honored to be a part of the implementation team of that plan. In terms of future anticipated growth areas, a lot is expected to come down the pipe, again, on all sides of the city. As Airdrie, the servicing does tend to mean we're going to be growing kind of from the south up to the north around the sides of the city. But over the next 18 months, we expect to be making some big advances in terms of zeroing in on the planning details for those areas, and then as well the joint planning area, which is that circle down to the south. So lots happening, plenty of formal opportunities to participate, but please reach out anytime. I'm looking to learn a lot from what's been done well. I want to learn from you in identifying the good, the bad, and let's call it the confusing policies that may be out there about Airdrie. Let's figure them out together, and I'm looking forward to it. So thank you very much. I'll pass it on to Gail to talk about current planning.
Thank you, Jordan. Good morning, everyone. So my name is Gail Jibo, team leader for the current planning. Today I'm going to be emphasizing the crucial connection between long-range planning that Jordan spoke about and the current planning efforts that the city is undertaking. So long-range planning sets the stage for establishing the overarching objectives and vision for our city's development. So think of this vision as our North Star, guiding us towards the kind of community we aspire to create over the years and even decades to come. It's the big picture thinking. Current planning role, though, is where the rubber meets the road. We ensure that everyday building and development decisions align with these long-term goals and visions. In essence, we are the practical implementers of these grand ideas that Jordan and his team will be challenging through. So we have a number of implementation tools. So through the land use bylaw is probably our primary implementation tool. So one of our primary tools, as I said, is the land use bylaw. This document translates the long-range planning goals into concrete rules and regulations for land use and development. It ensures that what happens on the ground is in line with our broader community and vision. We also have technical studies alignment. So we also ensure that development is supported with smaller technical studies such as traffic impact assessments and environmental site assessments to support the development that's going on the ground. So these studies are vital for understanding the nitty-gritty details of development. So current planning ensures that even these technical aspects are in harmony with the higher order master plans. Engagement with the public and industry, so collaboration is key. We work closely with the public and industry stakeholders to bridge the gap between long-range vision and practical execution. Their input and feedback are invaluable in shaping how our community grows. So in summary, long-range planning sets the grand vision, while current planning is the bridge that connects that vision to the real-world decisions about land use and development. It's a dynamic partnership that ensures our city grows in a way we collectively envision. So thank you for your attention for that. So on your screen here is our land use bylaw map. So to be abbreviated, the LUB, the LUB. It's a critical document in urban planning. It's essentially the rulebook that governs how land use can be used and developed within our city. It provides clarity and consistency in land use decisions. It outlines what can be done in different areas, ensuring that development aligns with our long-term goals. For developers and builders and investors, the land use bylaw is a crucial guide. It tells them what's allowed and what's not, streamlining the development process and reducing uncertainty. Lastly, the land use bylaw is not set in stone. It can be amended to adapt to changing circumstances and community priorities. ensuring that it remains relevant over time. So as you will recall, both from leadership, the mayor, our CAO, again, our manager, spoke about come to us, speak to us, and we can work with you in terms of how we can make development and investment work in the city. I do have a few recent approvals to highlight for you today. So we have the South Point Master Site Plan. In 2022, the city approved a master site plan for the South Point Village Commercial Development. This master site plan with Vesta Properties as developer means to create a comprehensive regional commercial district just south of 40th Avenue and west of the Queen Elizabeth II Highway. The commercial objectives of the master site plans are both to serve the needs of Airdrie residents and to promote commercial opportunities with a regional draw. I should note, we are currently working with that developer with some amendments to this master site plan. On your screen, you'll see a QR code. If you were to select that site, it will take you directly to our website with the document itself, so you can get more familiar with that. I'd also like to highlight the Primrose Master Site Plan. So recently approved in August of 2023, the Primrose Master Site Plan is located on the western edge of Airdrie, adjacent to Sagewood Community, along 24th Street. As part of Wildflower NSP plan, the Primrose will continue to focus on pedestrian and cyclist connectivity to the site and link with the surrounding green space. The master site plan will have 3 distinct built forms. The first being a 4-story multi-residential building along 24th Street to the east. The second area will offer convenience and service commercial, and the third being an attached low-rise residential units. So in terms of in-flight work or soon-to-start work, the city will be undertaking electronic approvals for planning applications. We currently do electronic approvals for safety code permits, so that's your building, plumbing, gas, and so on. So in the months to come, we're undertaking the work to start electronic approvals for planning applications as well. We're also working diligently on a development notification online mapping. So once development permits have been approved, there will be an online mapping site where you can get more information on that approval document and get more information if you're looking to get some more information there. And then the other item that I wanted to highlight is that we've been hearing from our builders about secondary suites. We're hearing from homeowners. We have had a record number of secondary suite applications in the last 18 months. So we'll be undertaking a review of the secondary suites regulations in our land use bylaw and hope to take it forward to council for an amendment. So in that, we're also working with our housing specialists in terms of how we can make secondary suites more accessible in the community to manage our housing crisis. And so with that, ends my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail. Thank you, Jordan. I think that gives a really quick overview of all of the amazing things that have been happening over the last 3 to 20 years in Airdrie. So be sure to catch Gail or Jordan at the break if you have some specific questions about future and current planning. So next up, I'd like to welcome Andrew Dormer, our team leader of engineering services, and he's going to provide you with I think a whirlwind overview of infrastructure planning in Airdrie.
Thank you, Sarah. I am going to be brief. I only have a few slides. I didn't want to put anyone to sleep. Wrong way. So engineering is the keeper of 3 of our master plans. Other departments do have their master plans, most of which can be found online and downloaded for free if you care to dig a little deeper. So for engineering, we have the transportation master plan. It's commonly referred to as the TMP. So that generally is focused on the arterial road network. Yankee Valley Boulevard, Veterans, 24th Street, 8th Street, 40th, that order of street. And then we have the utility master plan, which deals with our potable water and sanitary utilities. And then finally, we have a citywide master stormwater drainage plan, and that is a very high level look at stormwater management. So it generally locates stormwater ponds and provides general drainage catchments at the city-wide basis. So the TMP and the UMP, the Utility Master Plan, are currently being updated. As Horacio and the Mayor touched on in Jamal, we've been growing quite fast. We have a number of various structure plans that have come in lately, and they've increased the densities by about 30% from when those plans were done. So the TMP specifically was only updated a couple years ago, but it is due for an update based on the densities we've seen. The Stormwater Master Drainage Plan is actually on hold. We haven't updated it since 2015, and that's because the Nose Creek Valley, or Nose Creek watershed, is under study by the Nose Creek Partnership. So there's really no purpose in us updating until we have some of the deliverables from those studies. So I was just going to touch on the Transportation Master Plan, give you a very high level idea of what we do to update it. So the first part of transportation and updating a plan like this is figuring out how many trips are on the road, how much traffic's on the road, current existing trips. So to do that, we do traffic counts. You've probably been driving around and seen a couple of tubes on the road, and you drive over them and go thump thump. That's a traffic counter. So we do that on the existing network. We generate what are called our AM, or morning peak hour traffic, and our afternoon or PM peak hour traffic. And then for the unplanned areas, or for the new development, they have traffic impact assessments, and we pull the traffic from there. And in the unplanned areas, we apply assumed land uses, and then there's a trip generation rates that international, the Institute of Transportation Engineers, which is a North American-wide association, generates statistics on what land use produces what trips. So basically, we generate trips, both existing and future, and then we got to decide how these trips travel down the road. So we call that origin destination matrix and trip distribution. So if you've thought about coming here today, if you lived in Airdrie, maybe you drove down Veterans and came south down East Lake Boulevard, or maybe you left your house and went down Yankee and came north. So all those turns and stuff, that's called the trip distribution. And when you take the trips and then you distribute it, you get a figure like that's on the screen. It's probably a little small for you to see, but the text on it is the peak hour trips on any link within the road, so any segment of road. And then you can see on the figure, the darker and the redder the line, the more trips. So Highway 2, quite dark and quite large, and then our arterial network is kind of the next level. So then, following that, we kind of assign lane capacities to our road network. So that's kind of the number of trips we think are appropriate for any given classification of road. So for like for example, a local road, generally we limit traffic to about 1,000 trips per day. And that's just because any more traffic than that, and you start to have people feeling unsafe and feeling like there's too much traffic to live in that area. And so you do that for all classifications of roads. Arterials are about 40,000 trips per day. Collectors, generally less than 10,000. And so once you have the trips and you have your number of trips you can allow in any number of lanes, you can then decide how many lanes that road has to be. So something like Yankee Valley Boulevard will have 6 lanes. And that's really what the TMP recommends. If you go and look at it in the tables, it will tell you when we're going to go to 4 lanes on 24th Street, for example, when we anticipate it'll need to go to 6. And same with Veterans and the whole arterial network. The one thing that TMP doesn't do, sometimes people go to look for God incident, is it doesn't recommend intersectional treatments. So you won't find like roundabouts in the TMP, or signalization, or like how many turn lanes, that sort of thing. For that, we go to the next level plan, which are called arterial functional plans, which we're currently doing a bunch of. In the last 3 or 4 years, we've done most of 24th Street, so taking it from a 2-lane gravel road where it is sort of the south part of the city, and taking that up to the future 6 lanes, 2 of which would be like HOV or BRT, kind of higher level transit connectors. And this upcoming year, we're also doing functional planning for veterans from 8th Street to the highway, and that would include looking at how we could grade separate at the train tracks. Moving on to the UMP, the general process isn't a whole lot different. When you get down to it, you assume the land use, you apply densities to it, and whether it's residential or it's employment density, there's then a per capita demand for water and wastewater, and you add those up, and you get your water and wastewater flows, and then you do some hydraulic modeling, and out spits a figure like what's on the screen there, which is the conceptual water network in Airdrie at full build of the post-annexation area. So key projects in something like the UMP would be our new a future self-regional lift station. So that's a regional lift station that would pump most of City of Airdrie's wastewater to the City of Calgary through 2 new force mains. There's also, on the water side, it envisions a couple new lines from Calgary to supply water, and several reservoirs and pump stations for water. And that is, that's all from me.
Thank you very much, Andrew. I'm a really big fan of plain language, so I think we should just no longer say traffic counter and go with thump thump. And everyone will know what we're talking about. Love it. I think that's what my kids used to call it when they were 4 anyway. All right, so for those of you who are keeping track, we have had 5 presenters or 5 presentations. We've got 2 more to go before the break. So we are on track, which also makes my heart sing. So now we're going to move on to Mike Boyd. He's going to start talking about the numbers. He is our non-residential assessment coordinator, and Mike is going to share with you the intel his team has gathered through the 2023 vacancy study, and he's also going to talk about some trends he's seen in assessment. Welcome, Mike.
All right, thank you very much for taking the time to join us today. Today I'll be reviewing some trends in property assessments for 2023. And we're going to start with the 2023 vacancy study. So we recently completed our vacancy study, and I'm pleased to provide those results to you. So to ensure accurate figures, we did drive every property in the city in early July to record whether or not the space was vacant or occupied. We then checked that information with the information provided by owners through the request for information process to ensure that we're accurately capturing which spaces are vacant and occupied. One thing to note with this study is properties that were under construction as of July 1st were not included in the study, and the vacancy figures provided are based on square footage. So our overall vacancy rate for 2023 is 1%. For commercial, it's 1.94%. For industrial, we're 0.6%. And for office, we're 0%. So the office vacancy being at 0% is simply due to the fact that we have less than 300,000 square feet of purpose-built office space. So when we look at commercial vacancy stats by size of space, our largest vacancy is at 4.8%, and that occurs in spaces that are under 1,000 square feet. And we have a 1.4% vacancy rate for spaces greater than 2,500 square feet. If we instead look at it by property type, currently restaurants have the highest vacancy rate at 5.5%, and the only vacant restaurant currently is the Toad and Turtle in Kingsview Market. And the next notable one would be the multi-tenant CRUs, which currently sit at 4.8%. When we look at the industrial vacancy stats, again, the trend is that spaces under 1,000 square feet have the largest vacancy rate at 2.92%, and spaces larger than 3,000 square feet have the lowest vacancy rate. If we again look at property type, the condo market has the highest vacancy, still relatively low at 2.16%, and warehouses have an exceptionally low rate of 0.16%. This is typically because those warehouse spaces are built for specific users, so they don't often become available to the market. So the current built inventory in Airdrie. So we currently have 5.9 million square feet of industrial space, 2.9 million square feet of commercial space, and 280,000 square feet of office space. So 65% of the inventory in Airdrie is industrial. So for the commercial built inventory, so 43% of all the commercial spaces are multi-tenant CRUs, 17% are standalone retail, 18% is big box, and 11% falls into the other category, so dealerships, car washes, etc. Looking at the industrial inventory, 49% are single-tenant warehouses, 15% are industrial condos, and the remaining 36% is shared between the multi-tenant warehouses, mini storage, RV, and other. So now for the fun slide. Our 2023 assessment base is $14.6 billion this year. So we actually saw a $2 billion increase to the residential base last year. So our total residential base is $12.6 billion. We saw a $158 million year-over-year increase to the non-res base. So we're sitting at $2 billion for that property type. And linear and DIP and farmland have remained stable at 87 and 2.6 million respectively. So council's goal is for a 75-25 assessment-based split. We are currently at 86-26 for residential and 13.74 for non-residential. So how do we compare? So with that goal of 25% non-residential, Airdrie is currently sitting at 13.74%. Red Deer has a non-residential base of 24.63%, and Lethbridge is 19.77%. So you can see we have some room to improve on that metric. And how are we trending? So unfortunately, we are trending in the wrong direction of that 75-25 goal. And this is largely attributed to the residential growth, both in terms of parcel count and residential property values, specifically in the past 3 years. And speaking to that parcel growth, in the last 8 years, we've seen a 30% increase in parcel growth, and we're averaging just under 4% per year. One notable transaction I did want to review with everybody was that 800 Veterans Boulevard, which is a commercial retail strip with a gas station that's around 20,000 square feet, did sell this year for $410 a square foot and a 6% cap rate. And when we look at the Airdrie demographics by asset value by the owner origin, the largest difference between Airdrie and Calgary is the local ownership, where Airdrie has 7% more local owners than Calgary. And if we look at the asset value by owner type, again, you'll notice that Airdrie has less institutional and private equity money, and a much higher percentage of private ownership as identified in the yellow. That's everything. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thanks, Mike. And I know Mike will be here during the break if you have questions. And for those online, our assessment department is fantastic about communicating with our stakeholders, so feel free to reach out to them anytime. And I believe that vacancy information can be found on the city's website. Yeah, so there may be a few more details there. Okay, so now we're going to change things up a little bit and move the people in person online to the screen. We are going to have an online speaker with our very special guest, Mr. Paul Richter, the Director of Market Analytics with CoStar. So he is joining us today from Vancouver. We are very happy to have Paul. He has been a fantastic collaborator with us, a great wealth of knowledge is what he offers to us. And we're so pleased that for the second or third year, maybe, he has agreed to provide an update on Airdrie's non-residential market. So I will turn it over to our technicians to get Paul ready to go here.
Great. Oh, I can hear my echo, so I think you can hear me just fine. So thanks very much for the intro, and also for having me again this year to do a quick rundown on the commercial real estate markets. So next slide, please. I'll just do a real quick introduction onto CoStar. Next slide. Is someone there cursing through? Nope, just a lag. Gotcha. Great. Well, I'll just do a quick little nutshell on CoStar. So basically, CoStar just tracks commercial real estate markets in Canada, throughout the U.S. and Europe. We have a lot of employees, a lot of brands, a lot of users, and a lot of traffic to our web pages. If we want to just skip 2 slides, past the research and introduction one, or technology, here we go. So we gather a lot of commercial real estate data from a lot of sources, including the industry's largest collection of researchers, along with data input directly from brokers and owners. Next slide, thanks. And we also receive data feeds from other providers. Our researchers access information from 15 third-party data feeds across Canada. So for this quick market snapshot, I'll try to give you a region-wide update before drilling down to the Airdrie area to express how the regional performance affects the city of Airdrie. So next slide, thanks. So for starters, I'll quickly cover off the greater Calgary office market as an overall indicator of how the region recovered from the first 2 years of the pandemic and the subsequent challenges regarding financing. So leasing activity, if you want to just stay on that, yeah, that's perfect. Leasing activity had done fairly well heading into the latter half of 2022. Since then, we've seen a really steady decline, in which I consider a decline in leasing activity, and I consider leasing activity a sort of measure of momentum in the marketplace. And we're approaching Q2 2020 numbers, the first complete quarter after the pandemic sort of stopped the leasing market for the office sector. Now, the slowing in leasing volume is a common theme in major markets across Canada. However, there's a bright spot. Calgary stands out. The Calgary region stands out, along with Vancouver, as 2 of the top 5 major markets in North America in terms of absorption of space over the past 12 months, or rather the 12 months ending Q2 2023, the last complete quarter. So next slide, thank you. So as you can see, we're anticipating further increases in vacancy rates across the metro region. The strong leasing in 2022 has now landed in its space, and the slowdown in leasing through the first 2 quarters of 2023 has continued into the third. As a result of this, and of tenants right-sizing their spaces upon lease renewal, we expect to see absorption of space overall to be reduced. Additionally, we'll see some new buildings enter the market, something we haven't seen in over a year. These are mostly owner-user projects and medical office, so most of those firms will be vacating their existing spaces, which will likely remain vacant for upwards of 6 months to a year. That's the kind of time frame we're looking at for turning space over. Next slide, thanks. On the upside, third quarter of 2024, I know it's a full year out, but we anticipate the Calgary region to be the outlier against other Western markets in addition to Toronto. Each are likely to experience marginal rent rate slippage, while we anticipate Calgary region will be above 0% rent rate growth, but also only marginally. Next slide. Airdrie, isolated out of the region, shows how affected the market is to the overall drivers of the region. We anticipate Airdrie will be pulled along by the overall metro numbers, marginal rent rate growth, even as the macroeconomic headwinds continue. Airdrie, given the size of the office market and the profile of tenants being either satellite of larger offices or smaller to medium-sized businesses serving the local community, may outperform the greater region from 2024 onward. We'll just move over to industrial. You can flip to the next one, thanks. Yeah, that's perfect. So here you can see the blue bars indicate that we're in the midst of a significant industrial construction cycle that really gained steam at the end of 2022. Now, given the region's increased role as a Western Canadian distribution hub, it has greater exposure to the Canada-wide macroeconomic challenges. But given what we know about the uptake of the space scheduled to arrive over the next 18 months, we do anticipate a slight unwinding of vacancy rates. However, vacancy rates experienced pre-2021 are likely a thing of the past for the foreseeable future. Next slide. So leasing activity is also, for the industrial market, is also in the midst of slowing down. But unlike the office market, it's the result of dwindling availability of suitable space for lease from the biggest driver of industrial absorption, distribution buildings. These are logistics firms and retailers with large retail networks. Companies like Amazon, for example, isn't expected to take on any more space in the Calgary market for a little while, as they just landed 2 buildings in the southeast and one very large 2.9 million square footer in Edmonton, all of which will help serve their needs for local distribution going forward. Next slide. In terms of space under construction, the Calgary region leads the nation in total industrial space underway, the equivalent of 5.2% of its industrial inventory. Next slide. So what we are seeing in the Calgary market is a clustering of the construction activity, the Southwest submarket and the Balzac and the Rocky View County area around Balzac. This bodes really well for markets like Airdrie, where condo, industrial, and small to medium-sized bay occupants will likely benefit from business sourced from these large distributors that are locating just north of the city of Calgary city limits. So the chart on the right just shows how much more space is expected before the end of the year, roughly another 3 million square feet. Next slide. Now, relatively, Airdrie is a very small submarket, and the resulting supply and demand vacancy chart is spiky. However, Airdrie, like other submarkets in Calgary, has seen a significant decline in vacancy over the course of the last couple of years, and we expect this to continue. The large bars that are pushing those third quarter numbers way up are the Costco distribution building and a specialized building in the Highland Park industrial area. Both are obviously entirely spoken for and have little effect on the market performance, as one is expansion and the other is a brand new entrant to the Airdrie market. Next slide, thanks. So I mentioned earlier the prevalence of condo space and of custom builds, and since the start of 2021, we've seen just over 500,000 square feet brought to the market. Now, 70% of that space is spoken for by Costco alone, but the balance is still almost entirely spoken for. Less than 5,000 square feet is currently available in these new builds. And for the properties that sold to end users, the asking prices have been met by demand willing to pay near full asking prices. Next slide. Now, going forward, just based on what I've seen in recent approvals in Airdrie, we're expecting to see an opening up of 50 plus more acres for development in short order. Another 320 acres is back on the market and being marketed toward industrial and heavy industrial occupiers. I expect the success of specific properties in the Balzac area to be replicated. I'm thinking of like the High Plains Industrial Park. It's done a remarkable job of attracting a mix of tenant types beyond traditional distribution tenancies. Next slide, thanks. Now, in terms of rent growth, we're really seeing the wind come out of those sails a bit across the board. So this time last year, I presented this exact slide. Airdrie was seeing 7.4% increases in rent relative to a year prior. Next slide. This year, we're seeing that rental rate growth slow somewhat, but rental rate growth will continue. Further rent growth is likely, but past forecasts of the continuance of 7 to 8% in Alberta markets isn't expected, given the changes the nation has faced over the course of the last 18 months. All right, we'll switch pace to retail. Leasing activity in the Calgary region. In terms of retail space has done very well. It's primarily driven by new space coming to market as neighborhood centers and general street front retail. Next slide. Now, Airdrie's market has benefited from some new arrivals, but also the general uptick in retailer sentiment. The market, given its size, lends itself to this choppy performance, but the availability of space now relative to 2022 is smaller due to that activity, and that too will result in slower leasing performance. Next slide. And as you can see here, retail deliveries or new buildings, new buildings delivered to the market haven't been the norm for the Airdrie market in terms of retail space, but that soon will change with a very exciting project that I expect to do very well. The next slide. Now that's South Point Village. As the mayor said, the community is going to benefit greatly from the restructuring of the 40th Avenue Bridge interchange, and so too will South Point Village and future developments. Now, overall, the development will take place over 50 acres. It'll yield approximately 400,000 square feet of leasable area. It's in a format that has been doing exceptionally well throughout the Calgary market, that outdoor shopping format that is supported by new residential development nearby or on site. Now, the first phase is being marketed and it's in its early days, so the uptake of space to date is unknown. Vesta, the developer, has done a number of projects in the community and knows the market very well. So these additions will juice the future retail performance metrics in Airdrie, especially if the market and the province continue to see economic growth. Now, in terms of growth, rental growth in Airdrie, we expect to see the market outperform Calgary with rental rate growth continuing to improve for the foreseeable future. The primary driver being consistent demand in a low vacancy environment. The addition of South Point Village and any other new retail projects will push that market rent growth upward as the result of introduction of higher end or newer space to a smaller submarket. And we'll wrap up with multifamily. For the multifamily market, the net migration numbers in Canada and specifically in Alberta will be a huge driver to absorption of any new space that is coming to market. In the second chart on the right, you can see how much Calgary and Alberta as a whole has ramped up rental building construction. Next slide. So this time last year, I also included this chart, and this time last year, we were firmly planted in the middle of that balanced market bar. So that didn't last long, and we've seen a significant amount of absorption since, leading to rapidly declining vacancy rates. I don't see this getting better for the foreseeable future. New residents move to Calgary and Airdrie markets daily, and our current construction boom when it comes to rental housing won't provide significant enough new inventory to see a meaningful unwinding of vacancy rates. Now, given the lack of rent control in the Alberta markets, we could very well see annual rent growth in the 8 to 10% range for the next 2 to 3 years. Next slide. Now, I still refer to Airdrie as being undersupplied and in a consistent state of imbalance in the rental market due to the extended run of sub 2% vacancies. With the influx of brand new units in submarkets throughout the city of Calgary, there may be some upward movement in those markets by tenants upgrading their spaces, thereby increasing tenant movement and unlocking a new batch of availabilities each month. With net migration numbers being where they are, I expect added demand in the more affordable properties. This will keep a lid on any vacancies experienced by renters moving to the city of Calgary, hopeful of taking advantage of availabilities there that have been created due to the influx of new units in those markets. And the last slide, lastly, we expect rent growth in the quarters ahead. Airdrie will trail the city in terms of rent growth, but that is primarily due to the effect of brand new properties pushing rental rates upwards in the city of Calgary. Rent growth will still be historically high. In fact, I feel like our forecast is a bit conservative given the state of the Alberta economy and the level of increasing number of new residents in Alberta, Calgary, and Airdrie each quarter. So additionally, Airdrie's low vacancy will continue to create a very competitive market, which will also affect the rate of growth in terms of rental rates. So that was about 10 pounds in a 5-pound bag. So if anybody has any questions, if you go to the next slide, that's my email address. Feel free to reach out. Happy to dive into any of these stats further or to discuss the markets in Airdrie and in the greater Calgary area. Thanks very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Paul. And I just let you know you got a nice round of applause from the room here in Airdrie. We really appreciate Paul's collaboration with us, and you can read his market summary that he provides to us in Airdrie's growth report that you're going to hear about after the break. So we are exactly on time, so kudos to my team for a well-planned event. We're going to take a 15-minute break, so we will come back at 10:50. For those of you online, we'll see you back then at 10:50. Everyone here, please help yourself to the refreshments. I also just want to quickly have members of the Economic Development team give a wave. We've got Shauna and Chad at the back, and Chelsea and Krista here. So I really encourage you during the break to find our team, ask any questions you have, and don't let the other city staff off easy either. They're here to answer your questions as well. So we'll see you in 15 minutes. Hello, everyone. If I could ask you to take your seats, please. All right, thanks everyone. That 15 minutes went fast, but we are going to get back at it here. So for those of you who are in person, we hope you enjoyed the food and coffee, and I will plug some local businesses. Good Earth Coffee House, Nutters, and Squiggly Pig Marketplace are some of those who helped us cater today. I also want to take this opportunity to thank the staff of Bert Church Live Theatre for their assistance today in allowing us to use this beautiful venue. And I would be remiss if I didn't give a plug to the gem that we're sitting in today. Behind that wall is a 377-seat theater that hosts a variety of fantastic performances throughout the year. And it really, truly provides an up-close and personal experience. If you haven't bought a ticket for a show at Bert Church, I encourage you to, and their box office happens to be open right now. And also thank you to Rob and the team at Peak Technologies for their technical assistance today. Rob has just been a dream to work with, and we really appreciate him assisting us. And of course, we do have a city IT department that helped us out too. So I'd like to encourage you, maybe afterwards or tomorrow, if you would want to visit our Linktree page. There's a QR code on your table. If you scan that, you're going to get zipped online right to a page with a bunch of fantastic publications and resources about Airdrie. If you're online, we posted our link to Linktree in the chat. And when you're at Linktree, I would love you to sign up for our monthly e-newsletter that's called Airdrie at Work, and we send that out just once a month, and I think it's full of really great information. All right, so let's get back to our agenda now. We have a few more speakers to go before our question and answer. So first up, I'm thrilled to welcome Krista Sanders, an economic development officer with my team, and actually the person whose idea for this event originated with. And Krista is going to talk about the investment we're seeing in Airdrie and share with you some hot off the presses stats from Airdrie's 2023 growth report that was just released last week. Over to you, Krista.
So good morning. Nice to see you all. I hope you have been enjoying the program so far and gleaning a lot of important information from my colleagues. And I want to take a minute to say this. What an amazing team here at the City of Airdrie, a real collective group of individuals who bring excellence to their jobs every day, many of whom have been with the city a very long time and have experienced what it's like to work in a constant state of growth and change. Their resilience and devotion to innovation and finding ways to make it work through policy and advocacy is truly admirable. Each of the subject matter experts that have presented today and are still presenting are among some of the contributors to the growth report. So Airdrie's growth report, it was created for you. We want you to be able to quickly extract key information on population, jobs, dwelling counts, planning and construction status of land in any particular area. Additional statistics, including, I always have a problem saying that word, non-residential development, current and future inventory of housing by type, assessment trends, and projection of future land consumption were all included to help you navigate our complex and rapidly changing real estate environment. We continue to pursue opportunities to improve this report and are always looking for your feedback. A key change in this year's report is the grouping of some statistics by their geographic area in the city, which is helping us to better compare data sets and improve our forecasting methodologies. Of course, the addition of 2 subject matter experts, affordable housing and municipal energy advisor, have been an excellent addition as well. So, on to some of the specifics of this year's report, which are 2022 data numbers. I apologize for any repetitions on these, but let's talk about the incredible ones again, and I'll go through it fast and furious. So, employment and business licenses. Businesses want to locate here. In 5 years, despite a pandemic, our business license counts have increased by 22%. And our employment opportunities have increased by 44% since 2017. We are now estimating over 20,000 jobs available in Airdrie. While this is good, we still have a lot of work to do for a growing workforce of more than 47,000 people who would love the opportunity to live, work, and play in Airdrie, which is an item of importance identified under the council focus area, economic prosperity. We are 80,649 people. When I moved here in 1999, we were just shy of 19,000 people. We have added a Chestermere and a Cochrane to our population base in their populations today, in a time that takes me to raise 2 daughters, an average of 6.4% every year since then. So next slide. So speaking of kids, let's talk briefly about Airdrie's population pyramid taken from the Alberta regional dashboards. I'll preface by stating I'm not a demographer. However, I do find population demographics intensely interesting, and I'd like to share my observations. So Alberta shows significant promise, and Airdrie fits this mold as well. It demonstrates what we already know. We have strong workforce, with our biggest population cohorts found in the 35 to 44 age range, and a lot of children. That said, Alberta Regional Dashboard age pyramids are also showing 2 age cohorts, which is the 25 to 29 and 30 to 34, as decreasing in population year over year, despite an overall increase in population. This could be for a whole host of reasons. However, I suspect some of the issue is affordability and a lack of available rental and middle market housing for this age group. Airdrie has not escaped the housing affordability issue that is nationwide. But let's move on to the good stuff. In the Calgary region, Airdrie is in a league of its own, and we're thriving. As Mike stated earlier and identified, we're now approaching 9 million square feet of non-residential built inventory. Our stats show we average approximately 260,000 square feet of new construction non-res a year. 2021 was a precedent-setting year for leasehold improvements, with 2022 seeing total estimated construction values rise to its highest levels in 5 years, at a total estimated value of over $320 million. And I always have to catch my breath, sorry. This is largely attributed to residential construction, where values across all residential built forms were at their highest level in 5 years. Average residential permit activity is steadily increasing, and our proportionate market share in the region is starting to rise, with higher density product making its way to permitting stages and then market. We estimate we're approximately 6.3% of the Calgary region new home market share, a slight year-over-year increase. We are evolving as a city, and we understand the need to innovate for innovative housing solutions. Jessica will go more into this a little bit deeper in her presentation. Please know we understand the importance our land developers and home builders are to us as community builders, and we appreciate your expertise that you bring to the table. Investment dollars. Airdrie Economic Development has landed on definition of investment. Essentially, the tracked investment totals include the estimated building permit construction values, including all residential and non-residential new and leasehold values, provincial and federal grants, and municipal capital spending, and real estate transaction values for non-residential properties. Using this formula, we calculated more than $540 million worth of investment in Airdrie in 2022. The bulk of this investment was by our residential land developers and builders on the west side of Airdrie in the central and southwest sectors. We thank you for your continued commitment to our community. For our commercial realtors in the house, we found a total recorded sales transactions for 2022 at Land Title's office to just be over 138 million. Now we can go in to the land inventory just a bit. December 2022 numbers showed approximately 1,050 acres currently going through the NSP. So this was, or the NSP process, this was December 2022 numbers. It was about 100 acres more than we had the previous year, and it all coming from the non-residential side. We are very pleased with the 54 acres of industrial and 54 commercial that moved into the unsubdivided land with land use or NSP category. For residential vacant serviceable lands remain similar to last year's level and equivalent to approximately 1,000 single-family and semi-detached lots. All former townhomes are captured under the multifamily category, and we identified almost 3,000 multi-units that are vacant, serviced, serviceable, with roughly 410 units under construction December last year, and more than half of those are located in the downtown. The southwest sector almost also demonstrates a high number of estimated vacant service land. We'll go into the forecast. So we have changed the way we're demonstrating our land absorption forecasting. Estimates of total land expected to enter subdivision servicing agreements each year is derived from lands through various statutory and non-statutory planning. In April, we forecasted roughly 1,500 acres expected to go through the subdivision servicing process through the balance of the 10-year forecast period, and averaging about 144 acres a year. As the graph demonstrates, there is some risk built into these forecasts. It's recognizing several communities that have not yet received approvals on neighborhood structure plans. Also to note, as we see several communities winding down and new communities coming on stream, we'll see a bit of a peak early in the forecast period with a downward trend for the balance. Non-residential forecasts currently represent non-approved lands, however, don't reflect the opportunities available in East Points or the Air Park. These forecasts are highly sensitive to market conditions. As you know, approval timing and policy change all play critical factors in these forecasts. We do have significant activity in the pipeline, and we wait until the end of the year to confirm which ones are signed. So this year's population forecasts reflect a slight increase in overall population projections to past levels or past projections that we've made due to the high levels of land development in the first half of the forecast period. Overall, city administration is forecasting a total 10-year population increase of approximately 40,000 people over the 10-year forecast period, which will be about 40,000 people and reflecting a 4.3% average annual year-over-year growth rate, or 4,000 people a year. This could translate into Airdrie reaching a total population of 100,000 by 2028. And that is the balance of my presentation. I'll wrap up by shining a final spotlight on the areas of opportunity. Paul did a really great job of highlighting them, and I'll just reinforce. Item 1 is the downtown, with the amount of multifamily, vacant serviced, and serviceable land that I was talking about. We would love to see you build up with a mix of all forms of commercial, retail, office, and multifamily units to round out the population and jobs in our downtown core to take advantage of the city paid for infrastructure improvements and to help increase more affordable opportunities for our population cohorts between the ages of 20 and 34. Number 2 is the East Points area structure plan. And I wish I had a pointer, where there's 54 acres of industrial developer-owned lands that we've talked about, mentioned a couple times today. We're so excited to see what happens over there, but also in the East Points CASP area. Once we're shovel-ready, this will be home to additional medium and heavy industrial uses, as Paul mentioned. We currently target manufacturing, warehousing, transportation, value-add agriculture, agritech, digitech, and so on and so forth. We have also started building out our foreign direct investment lead pipelines, and particularly with the US. Number 3, our most imminent opportunity with Vesta, South Point Master Village, and that's in the south. 400,000 square feet of commercial retail available. They have several anchor tenants already lined up, and we'd be so pleased to pass along any of your inquiries. It's going to be a vibrant new community asset located at the base of our hard fought for and very long awaited 40th Avenue interchange. And finally, way towards the back half of our forecast period, we'd love to see our airport asset come to life on the east side of Airdrie. And so I'll close with reminding all of you that our team fields an incredible amount of organic leads. I was surprised. Everything from businesses, investors, government agency, and so forth that want to be here. We certainly need the industrial lands and come on to market. And to be able to capture some of that interest. And we all want to work with you to make that happen. Economic development would like to see coordinated efforts so that everyone is benefiting. So let's work together on policy, advocacy, and community building, and reach out anytime. Thanks.
Thank you, Krista. And I can actually tell you why Krista's out of breath, because she just finished producing this amazing 84-page statistical document for Airdrie that was released last week. So I really encourage you, if you're online, you can easily find the link on the city's website. If you're here, there's a postcard with a QR code that will link you right to the 2023 Growth Report, Tracking Development and Change. It's hot off the presses. And I will shamelessly say, if you see some of our social media posts about the information in the Growth Report, I would love for you to share them for us and help us out. All right, checking along here, I'd like to welcome another member of my team. Shauna Quinn is the city's Tourism Development Officer, and she's going to share with you how we are growing Airdrie's visitor economy. So please welcome Shauna.
Thank you very much. And yes, so growing our visitor economy, aka tourism. And I know many of you might look at Airdrie and think we're not exactly a tourism destination, and I get that. It's not like people wake up in the UK thinking, I'm going to head to Airdrie next summer. They might be thinking of Airdrie, Scotland, and not Airdrie, Alberta, but one day that could change. What's really important for us is that we're building that opportunity to attract visitors here and encouraging them to spend their money. We focus on reducing that tourism leakage and bringing that economic and social value here to our residents. And more visitor dollars means more money into our local businesses, which creates more jobs, which generates more revenue, and also drives more awareness of this amazing city we have called Airdrie. So why do we focus on Airdrie? Well, place does matter. And last year I told you about some of the, did I go backwards? Oh, there we go. Sorry. Working with our hotels on data. So we asked them, some of them at the end of the year, to share their postal codes and number of room nights those visitors stayed. So we took that data and created visitor heat maps, which you'll see here. So last year we saw a lot of people coming in from Ontario, which I think this year Ontario visitors were down, maybe because they came and bought all our houses. But we did see an increase in Saskatchewan and BC traveling as a pit stop to head out to the Rockies because Airdrie is affordable for them to stay here. So it's really important for us to sort of understand why people are coming to Airdrie and how long they're staying and what we're seeing for that. Of course, the VFR, so the Visiting Friends and Family market, is the most popular, and that's people traveling up and through Airdrie to see all of the other wonders of Alberta. So we understand place matters, and I also work a lot with following what Travel Alberta is doing. And to quote famous Taylor Swift, right now we're a blank space, baby. They have created their own tourism destination zones, and we happen to fit in no box whatsoever. And that's okay, because we are connectors, collaborators, and catalysts for all the other regions in Alberta. It also allows us a lot of opportunity to write our own stories, create our own identity, and figure out who we are and how we connect to Alberta for visitors to come as a destination. Last year as well, we did another survey called the Resident Sentiment Index. And in this index, we asked people sort of that crucial question about what is the visitor economy? Why do you like to do things? What is important to you? And one of the questions we asked is, of these experiences that you like to have, where do you like to have it? So we asked the questions like, where do you currently go for these experiences? And where would you like to go for these experiences? So I took some of this data and just want to highlight a few of them. First one, sporting events. We would like to do that here. We don't always want to go into Calgary to see a sporting event. Second, events without my kids. Please, give us adults something to do in Airdrie that doesn't involve my children all the time. Another one with that would be arts and cultural experiences. So this is more than just your festivals and events, but an experience where you can dress up and go on a date and do something beautiful at night and have that arts and culture sort of be a part of that. And finally, now that I have tweens and teens in my household, 92% of us say, give our kids something to do. There is nothing for this age group in Airdrie at this time that they can really embrace as an activity or an experience that brings them and invites their friends up here to enjoy. So with that resident sentiment, that sort of guides us on some of the directions for growing our visitor economy that I would look at. So looking at that experience economy and meeting the desires of our residents not only help create ambassadors that would invite those friends and family, but also will help visitors come more often, stay longer, and spend more money. So with being collaborators, connectors, and catalysts, we also become community builders in our visitor economy and tourism plans.
Rental Rewind was shot in front of a live studio audience in Airdrie, Alberta.
Show of hands, how many people were here last year? Fresh. So you heard my plea last year saying our film development that we're working on in Airdrie to align with Alberta's film industry is growing. And we had some filmmakers in Airdrie looking for houses or homes, studios, anything to film out of. And it was because of this forum that we had some leads generated, and we were able to find Crooked Films a rental space for 2 months to film their pilot, which was picked up by TELUS TV with a grant. TELUS TV has actually reached out to them to create more content for this year, so they're about to start filming a brand new hyper-interactive breaking through the ceiling of long-term format television, hydraulic robots. I don't want to give out the whole thing, but it is incredible what they have in mind. So if you know anything about Twitch and API, that is sort of their jam up here. They're looking for new places to film for 2 months coming up again. We don't have a film studio, we don't have spaces available, and we have a growing amount of local filmmakers, but also, like at the bottom, I think I've helped 8 productions, international and out from Calgary, out from Ontario, come and film here in Airdrie. We've got great streets and great opportunities for them to match what some of their major motion pictures are. And then down in the corner, West David, a local Airdronian, Fishing the Wild West TV, the #1 fishing show in all of Canada, and the #1 Canadian fishing show in all of the United States. This TV show is airing on Wild TV, Sportsman Channel, Cowboy Channel, RDRF TV, and growing. And right now, actually, Wes and I, through our helping with the seed development for him to create a new show called Farm, Field, and Game, which will be based out of Airdrie, working to tell the story of our local farmers and how our food gets from basically field to fork. And with that, they're just in the editing suite right now. They've been working with local businesses, featuring stories, profiles, some of the farms around town, and that's already been picked up by the Cowboy Channel and Wild TV for distribution on Q3 2024. So we're making TV shows here, we're making things happen. And even this week, we've had about 2 more filmmakers call about pilots and series they're trying to get off the ground here. So this is a great opportunity for us to diversify our income and support these guys. We just need some more spaces and places and available houses to shoot for a day or 2. So what is that? culture in Airdrie, couture, culinary, everything happening at once. What a night that was. This was a group we supported a couple months, last month actually, the Wynwood Music Festival. Two young artists who grew up in, one of them grew up in Airdrie and now is playing McGill in Montreal and around the world, but they wanted to bring a festival back here to Airdrie of chamber music. But what they did is they connected with our community. They connected with breweries, with parks, with Bella Vita, this beautiful venue, to create ticketed and free events for the public. So we're really looking at to find these diverse experiences and events that we can help create a sustainable opportunity for them to showcase here in Airdrie. And even these niche audiences, I mean, they were playing everything from Billie Eilish to Queen Rhapsody in chamber format. Brings in new audiences to Airdrie and new visitors for new experiences. So we celebrate groups and individuals and entrepreneurs and idea creators like this, and we'd like to see more, and we'd like to have more of the community help celebrate them in future years. So the roar of a crowd, I'd like to say that was my kid scoring the goal, but it was not. This was the Alberta Winter Games. Ron Epson had over 500 people standing shoulder to shoulder, 4 lines back, watching the boys' final hockey game. People love to be a part of the spectator sport environment. There's an energy that is palpable and you cannot beat it. Unfortunately, we don't have many opportunities for spectator sports in Airdrie, and that is something I am focused on changing. We have clients phoning all the time. We have high-performance elite teams, not just in hockey, but across all sport platforms, looking to bring their home teams here, looking for new venues, looking to make Airdrie a part of their league series. So this year we are focused on attracting a lot of these private sport developments, facilitating partnerships, and making something bigger and better for this community. And I think one opportunity that I can just quickly mention is the new recreation center. We've actually hired consultants. We're in the midst of working with them just to look at the feasibility. If we were to build a spectator bowl within the new arena, could we attract a high-performance team? What does that mean? What does that look like for Airdrie? So those consultants are coming here 2 weeks from now to start doing their work, and we'll have that report back. But when we talk about being a catalyst, can you imagine in the new rec center having a seating bowl, hosting the men's Boston Pizza Curling Cup, hosting a Junior A female team, because they're on the rise, what that means for the commercial development around there. Your hotels, we've got nothing over there, restaurants, breweries, everything else. So it's important to have sport in the community, and it's important, and we know people don't want to keep going to Calgary for it. So that's my plea, again, for film, sport, and supporting great ideas in our community. And if you have any questions or have some space or have some interest, please make sure to follow up at tourism@airdrie.ca. Thank you.
Thank you, Shauna. I hope everyone learned a few new things about Airdrie today in Shauna's presentation. Now, attracting visitors to Airdrie is a very, very good segue to our next presenter, Adina Malik. Jamal referenced Adina earlier. She is the city's brand new downtown revitalization coordinator. That role was introduced this year, and she started a couple months ago. And she's going to speak to our focus on making downtown Airdrie a place to live, visit, and invest. Adina.
Hey Airdrie, it's Councillor Tina Petro. I want to share an exciting plan to transform our city centre. Let's talk about the Community Revitalization Levy, or CRL for short. The CRL allows us to harness the provincial portion of tax revenues from assessment increases in the downtown area, right in the heart of Airdrie. These funds will be put to great use for critical initiatives that will shape the future of our community. Imagine a vibrant and bustling downtown filled with activity, learning, creativity, people, and endless possibilities. That's what the CRL is all about. It's a catalyst for transforming our downtown into a flourishing center of activity that will support businesses and new amenities for the people who call Airdrie home. Together, we can create a downtown that we can all continue to be proud of. Let's revitalize our city center and create a brighter future for Airdrie.
So good morning. What exactly is the big deal about Airdrie's downtown? Airdrie City Council first deemed revitalizing downtown as a strategic priority back in 2018, and it continues to be a priority today. As well, it's a foundational piece of Airdrie's economic strategy. Throughout the development of the downtown plan to guide our efforts, it was identified that revitalizing our downtown would provide Airdrie with the biggest bang for our buck for a few reasons. The existing infrastructure and servicing capacity can accommodate up to 5,300 people and 8,800 jobs, proving that it is an economically and geographically efficient place to absorb new growth through increased density. The density of economic opportunity and activity in downtown will provide a higher level of return per dollar than other parts of our community. Downtown is a central location with opportunity to increase our community gathering places, become a hub for social and cultural activity, and can offer a higher quality of life for our residents. So I did mention the plan, and I suspect all of you here today have read the 121-page document cover to cover. As a quick reminder, the plan was developed over a 5-year period and engaged landowners, businesses, community groups, key stakeholders, and the general public, many of you who are in the room today. The outcome was a guiding document covering roughly 100 acres of land that sets us on the path to transform downtown into a vibrant and thriving area, offering a unique blend of proactive investment, strategic location, and sustainable growth. This plan includes over 100 municipal action items, which I am responsible to operationalize and bring to life. Since the adoption of the plan, a number of exciting things have happened either intentionally or organically that positively impact our revitalization efforts. First and foremost, in December 2022, the Ministry of Municipal Affairs approved Airdrie as the recipient of a Community Revitalization Levy, or better known as a CRL. This was a huge accomplishment as we were the first recipient in over 7 years. The approved CRL area, outlined on the map on the screen in orange, encompasses our entire downtown, but extends to include an additional 30 acres and represents just over 2% of the city's entire taxable assessment. So what is a CRL, you might ask? It is a collaborative financial tool to redirect the provincial portion of property taxes from properties within a defined area to undertake revitalization or redevelopment. Our defined boundary had a total assessed value of just less than $270 million in 2022, and this became our starting point. We project that over the next 20 years, as much as 33% of all new tax revenue above the baseline I mentioned will equate to roughly $7.6 million being redirected to the city for our revitalization efforts. These monies will be used for 6 municipal infrastructure projects that residents, businesses, and property owners suggested Airdrie undertake during the development of our downtown plan. These include things like evaluating and initiating remediation of contaminated locations, construction of municipal parking structures, and enhancements and activation along Nose Creek. A big win for revitalization is the Airdrie Multi-Use Facility and Library. The project broke ground late last month and is a $65 million capital investment from Council. It shows their dedication to providing much-needed community space to support Airdrie's growing needs and their commitment to being a leader and catalyst of downtown revitalization. At full build-out, the facility will be 73,000 square feet and a hub for community activity with a presentation theater, cafe, rentable meeting rooms, and outdoor gathering spaces with connection points to the Nose Creek pathway. It is set to open in 2025 as a gathering space for residents and visitors to learn, connect, share stories, and build community pride in our downtown. Leveraging the idea of not starting from scratch, there have been a few large and small redevelopments happening since January of this year. A couple of great examples include 400 Main Street North, pictured here on the screen. JEB2 Properties invested just shy of $1.6 million to redevelop their existing property, adding 2 new buildings and expanding an existing childcare business. When the final portion of the project is complete, they will have added just over 15,000 square feet of new space. Cream Lingerie, a longtime tenant in the downtown, took advantage of the lull after holiday shopping and revamped the interior of their storefront. They reoriented the setup, adding new lighting, fixtures, and displays, and shuttered the Bath & Body side of the business and rebranded from Cream Bath & Body to Cream Lingerie. According to owner Lynn Kehoe, the refresh has breathed new life into the business and is drawing customers, many for the first time, to their location. And this past weekend, if any of you attended Airdrie Fest, you would have noticed that London Drugs has publicly announced their intentions to relocate to the downtown, bringing them closer to their customer demographic while offering the same services and staff complement. Interior renovations and improvements are underway at 804 Main, and the store manager, is excited for London Drugs to play a role in our revitalization plans. Complementing redevelopment, we have witnessed a number of new businesses investing in our downtown. They are either opening their first storefront location or expanding a franchise. Almost all of these have been infill within existing multi-unit developments, sometimes absorbing spaces that have been vacant for a longer than average amount of time. Trendy businesses such as Crumble Cookies are drawing a younger demographic into our core. With their massive cult-like social media following, they chose Airdrie for their first Alberta location. If any of you had driven through the downtown during their first month of being open, you would have witnessed the long lines out the door, down the sidewalk, and across the breezeway, just for a taste of their sweet treats. Although the crowds have waned, they continue to not only draw residents into our downtown, but have become an Instagrammable hotspot-like beacon to those traveling from out of town. These new investments continue to diversify the offerings of products and services in our downtown, adding to the fabric that includes 195 businesses. Now on to the real sexy bit of downtown revitalization, incentives. Last September, Council adopted 7 resolutions and set aside a $2 million reserve to fund an incentive program, with the objective of accelerating development. These resolutions cover such items as beautification, activation, expedited decisions on permit applications, and business and mixed-use support. We were really looking to ensure we covered as many bases as we could to push things forward in the downtown. Over the past year, we have been working with an external consulting firm to create a framework for these incentives, including applications, requirements, legal agreements, and the like. We anticipate to return to Council to provide an update on this work and seek a final blessing before a hard launch before the end of the year. With all that said, you're probably wondering what the next steps are. Through to the end of the year, we are working on the following. Our number one priority is wrapping up the incentives work I just mentioned and packaging them for launch to the public. Watch our social media channels for more on this in the near future. We are expanding our current groundwater monitoring program that will comprehensively delineate and characterize the groundwater conditions of a few locations in our downtown. We are also undertaking the creation of a brownfield development guidebook that will focus on the downtown, but could be replicated for other areas in the city. This guidebook will provide a bylaw interpretation and regulatory overview to offer a broad understanding and clear direction of the city's requirements. In conjunction with the AMFL construction, we are exploring the opportunity for enhancements to the Nose Creek. And lastly, we are finalizing our execution plan for the 100+ municipal action items. Needless to say, we are extremely busy, but we welcome you to connect at any time for anything to do with downtown. You can find me after all of the presentations. I'm extremely tall and wearing bright pink, so you can't miss me. Or feel free to email me at downtown@airdrie.ca and let's grab a coffee. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Adina. And I'm pleased to share that this time next year, you'll be able to meet our downtown economic development officer that we're in the position, currently recruiting that position, and that individual will be ready to help businesses and investors in addition to Adina with our downtown revitalization efforts. All right, we are getting close to the end, but we do tend to save some of the best for last. So now I am pleased to welcome Jessica DeVries, our housing policy strategist. Since she joined us a little over a year ago, Jessica has been exceptionally busy working to address affordable housing in Airdrie, and I think you'll be interested to hear what she has to share today.
Thank you for that introduction, Sarah. So as you've heard today, the City of Airdrie is investing in our community in order to set the groundwork for everyone to be successful here. Our council's goal is that every Airdrie resident has access to housing that meets their needs, and access to housing on all incomes is an essential component of achieving a complete and inclusive community. In order to achieve that goal, we need housing options beyond single-family detached home ownership. Today, I'll cover how the city's goals in achieving diverse housing supply are being pursued through municipal levers. However, what this all comes down to is the impact that access to appropriate and affordable housing means to individuals in our community as a whole. The goal is for housing in Airdrie to support the labor force where workers can live and work in their own community and businesses can attract and retain talent. The goal is for the local housing supply to serve seniors who have been living in Airdrie their whole lives and are now on a fixed income so that they can stay in their community in their older ages. And the goal is that housing options in Airdrie should include homes that are accessible to people who experience a significant change in their personal circumstance, such as a divorce or the onset of a disability that effectively drops their household income. These are the goals that are driving the City of Airdrie's housing solutions that are now in progress. The Airdrie City Plan considers that households are in need of affordable housing if they earn less than 65% of the median income and spend 30% or more of their before-tax income on shelter costs. This is the same definition that the City of Calgary uses. This income cutoff is intended to exclude households that may be overspending on housing by choice. And this means we are looking at households making less than $71,500 a year, meaning that their inclusive cost of housing should be $1,788 or less per month. So almost $1,800 per month could be viewed as a pretty generous definition of affordable housing. However, if you look at the current prices and the availability of new leases in the rental market, there's extremely limited supply and prices are continuing to go up, driven in part by in-migration into Alberta, as mentioned earlier in the CoStar presentation. Some housing that is provided through the private market could be considered affordable because it meets the cutoff price point, and this type of housing is called naturally occurring affordable housing, or NOAA. And we know that the availability of NOAA is drastically shrinking across Canada, and our region is certainly no exception. In fact, I looked at RentFactor yesterday, and there was only 8 rentals available in Airdrie that met that affordability criteria, and none of those offered were homes that had 3 or more bedrooms that would serve most families. So therefore, affordable housing is usually housing that is made possible through applying some sort of public subsidy. Airdrie has 2 affordable housing providers, Airdrie Housing Limited, which is a fully owned municipal corporation providing affordable rents to families and individuals, and the Rocky View Foundation, which runs the Seniors Lodge program regulated by the province. This year, both housing providers are opening homes through projects that were made possible with municipal, provincial, and federal funding support. And this is great news, and we want to celebrate that and do more of it. But publicly subsidized solutions to create affordable housing will not be sufficient to get us to the housing outcomes that we want. We need participation of private industry to get us to the point where we have the adequate supply and diversity and typology that will serve the current and future needs of the community. And this is a point that I'll come back to later, but the housing diversity that I'm talking about is really in missing middle housing, which generally includes multifamily, typically 4 stories or less, and also attached homes. The municipality has an important part to play in guiding how we encourage the type of housing that is being built, and this is action through several different roles, including as a housing funder through contributions to capital projects, a partner through meaningful collaboration with external stakeholders, and as an operator and a regulator as the steward of municipal policies, regulations, development practices, and bylaws that impact the housing system. And this regulatory component will have the highest impact or influence on the development industry. You've already heard a lot today about the different ways that the city is taking action within these roles. But now I'm going to add on to that from the perspective of achieving housing diversity. Many members of industry working here in Airdrie participated in the housing research that we did over the last year, and I will again thank you for your participation in that work and your valuable insights. The research influenced the 2024 to 2030 Airdrie Affordable Housing Principled Action Plan that was unanimously approved by Council and is available on the City website. The plan is focused around what the City can do to get more affordable housing supply through using municipal tools. And for example, Council will see a proposal next week on the building permit fee waivers for affordable housing projects brought forward both by nonprofit providers of affordable housing as well as private providers of affordable housing. But expanding beyond the Affordable Housing Action Plan, we're looking to pull municipal levers that will encourage more missing middle housing of all tenures, both rental and ownership, and even other opportunities such as co-op housing. Airdrie has submitted an application to the CMHC Housing Accelerator Fund program, and whether or not we're accepted into the program, the actions outlined in our application are all centered around the things that we know we need to do in order to achieve the goal of better housing diversity. So if we are accepted into the HAF program, we can have many of these actions significantly moved forward within the next 2 years. Without HAF, we still want to achieve the same goals, however, the time horizons would likely be extended. And our next steps are that we will go, again, back to the industry consultation in order to make sure that we get it right and how we apply the rules so that it's easier for industry to bring on more housing supply that lends itself to being more affordable in as short of a time frame as possible. So specifically impacting market housing, we are focused on improving zoning efficiency and flexibility in established areas and in new communities, such as allowing greater access to secondary suites, as mentioned by Gail earlier. Also, improving efficiency in the development approval process with built-in incentives for missing middle housing. Additionally, ways that we can link housing affordability with better transit access and walkable communities, and also integrating better and faster housing outcomes with Council's downtown redevelopment initiatives and projects associated with the province's community revitalization levy that Adina just spoke to. So acknowledging that the municipality is the gateway to housing development, it is important to recognize the context of the provincial and federal approaches to how adequate housing supply is being pursued. And as Horacio alluded to in his remarks earlier, higher orders of government can apply significant access to capital, such as those programs that are being actioned through the National Housing Strategy, as well as important regulatory roles such as the residential tenancy legislative oversight that the province has. We are actively advocating to the provincial and federal governments so that solutions benefit Airdrie. So in conclusion, we have a lot of work to do, and we need to move these goals into useful policies. And as Mayor Brown mentioned in his remarks this morning, we intend to do that properly with the input and feedback from those that are invested in our community. So I look forward to having those conversations over the coming months and coming back next year with an update to you on the progress that has been made. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Okay, this morning has just flown past. That is the end of our formal program and the speakers, but I am in a minute going to invite Stephen up to close out the speakers, but then we're going to move to the Q&A. So if you haven't thought of your question yet, now's the time to start thinking about that, and it's looking really good that we're getting you out of here at noon today. So to wrap up the presentations you've just heard, it is my pleasure to welcome Stephen Oots, the Director of Strategic Investment and Community Growth, to share some remarks.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you, everyone. I want to begin by thanking everyone for coming today, and I want to thank you either for your role in investing either directly in the community or your role in attracting new investors to the community, new residents to the community, new business owners, new employers to the community. So thank you very much for doing that, and thank you very much for coming to our event today. I wanted to close with a few stats from both myself and the former Director of Community Growth and Protective Services, Kevin Weinberger. And so I wanted to provide you a few things that might be valuable for you to know with respect to whether or not your investment is protected as well as how the community is growing. So to conclude, Airdrie is now home, as you heard, to over 80,000 residents. There are 1,145 commercial industrial businesses. There are nearly 2,000 home-based businesses, and there are more than 20,000 jobs here in town. We're a city that's connected not only by location, but also by our desire to be a connected community. We believe that we are well positioned to attract not only new residents, but also businesses, development, and investment. And both now and in the future, we wanted to ensure the health and safety of everyone who lives and works in the city, and our Protective Services Division works to ensure just that. We are responsible to the needs and the businesses and the residents that you bring here through your investments. So, to date, in 2023, the average response time from the point of the caller connecting a 911 dispatch with the Airdrie Fire Department was 6 minutes and 42 seconds. 57 seconds of that is the 911 processing call time. This year, we have responded to 1,745 incidents, around 7 per day. 447 of those occurred at overlapping times. That number is up from 2022, when there were 1,617 incidents, with only 381 overlapping. We've responded to 868 medical calls so far in 2023. 91 of those were outside city limits, so we're not just protecting Airdrie, but the area around it. On average, the Airdrie Fire Department has completed 80 inspections per month this year. As Airdrie extends our reach into the Calgary metropolitan area, we continue to make great contributions to the region and provincial economy. Strong residential permit activity has increased, our 3-year average to 887 residential permits per year, and we account for 6.3% of the regional growth, which is interesting because we are less than 5% currently of the regional population, showing our increasing share. Since 2018, Airdrie has attracted almost $1.36 billion in estimated construction activity through non-residential building permits. And our planned land capacity indicates that we have an opportunity for 108,000 new people, 36,000 jobs, and 35,000 residential units over the next 20 years. Really want to thank you for your participation in that, for those that you've invested in yourselves, for those you've brought to the community, and for those that you will bring to the community. I want to thank everyone who's presented here today. You've heard a lot of information so far, and I think because you've heard so much information, I'm going to shut her down right here. But I do want to say to this room, thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here today. As you may have heard a little bit at the beginning, the city is going through organizational realignment, and I am the new Director of Strategic Growth and Investment, and I'm very happy to see many of you all again, and looking forward to meeting many of you in the future. So thank you.
Thank you, Stephen, and thank you all online and in the room for sticking it out right till the end. I hope that means that you have a question. First, I'm going to start with some questions that were pre-submitted before the event. So I want to honor those people who took the time to do that and sent it in advance. So we can send a mic over to Jamal. This question is about, actually maybe Jamal will walk forward a little bit. So Jamal is going to tell you about what Airdrie's plans are for future industrial land.
Well, thanks very much for the question. So, Sarah, actually, can you say it again? I was wondering how far to walk up, so I couldn't walk and think at the same time.
The question has set you up to pitch what our future industrial land supply looks like.
Okay, so as far as industrial lands and new industrial lands, we have, I don't have a graphic for you up there, but we have on the east side of the city, the East Points Community Area Structure Plan, which is 6 quarter sections of land. Now, one of those quarter sections has just gone through the neighborhood structure plan process, whereby they have a statutory document for a variety of for a variety of industrial uses. There is, in addition to that, some residential component that goes along. So there'll be opportunities, wonderful opportunities there for a live-work scenario. Secondly, the other 5 quarter sections, 2 are owned by an investment company, and then the others are owned more on the smaller investment or smaller landowner ownership, sorry. And so in terms of sequencing of that, we basically would see sort of a clockwise sequencing of opening up those lands. From a developed area standpoint, the next area that I'd like to take a look at, which will be in Jordan's, I'm not sure where he is, there he is, Jordan's basket of work will be, we have a lot of redevelopment opportunity in the East Lake, the existing industrial sector. So a lot of development area that currently is potentially underused from a assessment value, but certainly is very valuable to the current industrial operators. Are there ways, like Calgary has done, for instance, in the Greenview Industrial Park, other ways to incentivize and get further development there so that we can bring in more of the business industrial buildings that we might want to see in terms of an evolution of a first-generation industrial park?
Thank you, Jamal. Thank you. Andrew, this one's coming at you. It's a question about offsite levies. Can the new levies be adjusted for industrial as they don't use as much of the services as residential does?
Yeah, thanks for the question. So we are currently in the process of updating our offsite levy. It's phase 2 of a process council endorsed back in, I believe, 2020. So phase 1 was completed last fall. Council passed an amended bylaw, offsite levy bylaw. So we are currently in the second stage, and under that, we are, in that scope of work is looking at financial methods to incentivize non-residential development, and looking at the cost of servicing non-residential versus residential developments. So the short answer is yes.
Perfect. Thank you, Andrew. There are no questions online yet, so if you have any, please do feel free to add those to the chat and they'll be sent to me. Before I move to another submitted question, I would like to open it up for questions in the room. And just wave your hand. We can bring you the mic. You can come to the front. So many options. Yes, go ahead, please.
Would it be possible at some point, because of all the new people that are being in different positions, to put online the organizational flowchart of who's who at the zoo?
Great question. So I'll repeat the question. The question was in regards to understanding the City of Airdrie's organizational structure a little bit better, and could we maybe look at putting online an organizational chart to help you know who to speak with? And Stephen is up and ready to answer that question.
Thanks. So Mel, great question, and the answer is yes. The organization is going to put a sort of more generic but still effective organization chart on the line so you would know who to be able to be in touch with and how people will be reporting going forward. So yes, that is part of our plan, probably within the next quarter.
Good question. Thank you. Any others from the floor? Okay, I'll give you a second to think, and I'll read a question that was submitted. Paul, is Paul still online? We think Paul's still online, which is great, because this is going to be a question for Paul. Paul had noted that Airdrie is well positioned to attract small and medium-sized firms. What size can we expect for small and medium firms in terms of square footage? What sizes can we expect for square footage to manage those demands? Okay, so Mike, is that a question that you would feel comfortable answering? Probably not. Okay. So come back next year so that Paul can answer that question. We will be sure to respond to the person who submitted the question with Paul's answer. All right. One other call for questions either online or in the room. Okay, I know you're all just itching to speak to us one-on-one or to grab some more refreshments before you leave. So that is perfect. That helps me wrap up exactly on time, which really makes me feel good as an MC. So I want to say that I truly hope that today was helpful for you. I hope that you maybe learned something new about Airdrie, or that this event prompted a question or a curiosity, or that maybe even today that you met somebody new in the room here. So of course, we are hopeful that you're leaving also with big ideas of opportunities that you can come talk to us about for investing and doing business in our city. And I also want to repeat the genuine offers that you heard earlier from our city leadership about how much we want your feedback about the things that we could be doing better for you. So just wrap up with a few thank yous. To my city colleagues, thank you for taking the time out of your day. I believe you shared with our audience the expertise that we do have, and I can reiterate the passion that my coworkers have for running this fair city of ours. To the event organizers, I need to say a tremendous thank you to Krista and Chelsea, members of my team, who put together today's event. They worked tirelessly, and I think it went off without a hitch. For all of you, thank you so much for coming today and for sticking around, both online and in person. We really appreciate that you spent a whole morning with us. But we do want to hear more about what you really thought about the event. We want your feedback, so we hope that you will take 3 to 5 minutes to complete our event survey. It's quick, and if quick isn't enough, there are prizes. So for you online folks, we're going to give away 2 $25 coffee cards to people who submit a survey. And in person here, we'll be doing a draw, if you complete the survey, for a $50 gift certificate to an Airdrie business of your choosing. And maybe even better, you're going to get one of our really hard to get Yeti mugs, and they're very cool. I don't even have one. So the QR code is here. It's also on the door on the way out. If you forget, it will be in the email that we're following up with you on within a couple of days. And also in that post-event email, you're going to see links to the recording if you want to watch it again or share it with your friends. And you'll also find links to some of the resources and information that we shared with you today. And you'll also be receiving an invitation to please reach out to Economic Development, either in person or virtually. We would love to meet with you to tell you more about the city and to answer your questions. So with that, one last thank you for attending. Drive safely, enjoy the beautiful fall weather, and I hope we'll see you next year, but if not sooner, here in Airdrie. Thank you.